your local hope dealer.
Inspiration and dedication. I came a long way from sleeping in them pages. I got my life back, I feel amazing. Life's a book, don't get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work lead to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned into the prisoner to painter. Prisoner to painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to painter.
And now, a word from your local hope dealer.
Just waiting on the book. All right, we are live.
Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast. I'm Nathan McDermott.
And I'm Katie McDermott.
And today joining us is Marc Daly.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Long time no see.
Yeah. It's fun this morning.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for coming on. Thanks for having courage to tell your story. I start everyone about the same. It takes a lot of courage to come on and tell your story. Even if you are used to being in front of a camera or a mic, still a different monster going through your story. So,
okay.
So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Awesome. We got this advice from Pastor Mike. Do you mind giving a little synopsis of what you do at the beginning of the episode so people
Sure.
know who you are?
Sure. So I work for McKibben Media Group in the morning. I am the host of AM Jackson on News Talk 970 AM, 101.5 FM. So I've been doing that for working in radio for a while now. And my afternoon job that my wife and I work at together, it's Daily Advantage with Coldwell Banker Bisonia Realty Group. So I'm on the radio in the morning, and then afternoon I'm a real estate agent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, man. Okay, that's super cool. That's really cool. We've had on a lot of realtors, and we'll go through your story, but I guess my question is, so like we've had on Jennifer and we've had on Zach Watson and a couple others. How does that, like with all the realtors in Jackson, do you guys all get along, or is it like a happy competition? Or?
Super competitive market.
Yeah.
Well, it's a competitive market, but we all get along. We all play nice in the sandbox together because we all have to work with each other. Yeah. If it's going to be a seller agent on one side, buyer agent on the other, vice versa, I mean, we are going to have to work with each other. So yeah, we all play nice in the sandbox together. We all work well together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just was after having a couple of real estate agents on, I'm like, man, I gotta ask somebody that.
Yeah.
Like I never.
I get it.
Yeah. Awesome. So normally we start in childhood and go to where you are. So what was your family dynamic like growing up?
Okay. So I come from divorced parents. They divorced when I was pretty young. I grew up in Tecumseh. And let's see, probably about kindergarten is somewhere around there. I don't know. I was pretty young when they split up. So I kind of just grew up with mom during the week and dad every other weekend. Once we got a little older, my brother and I decided that we wanted to flip that. So we went to dad's, and then we're with mom every other weekend. So I feel lucky that I kind of grew up in two different communities. Grew up in Tecumseh, but my dad lived in Clinton. So I had my Clinton life and I had my Tecumseh life. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the start of that was kind of my childhood, is the dynamics of it.
Awesome. What was your favorite cartoon?
I love Super Friends.
Okay.
I guess that was the start of my nerddom too. So I loved Super Friends on Saturday mornings. Okay. Also, I mean, who doesn't love Looney Tunes? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Right. Yeah.
What was your favorite cereal to go with Saturday morning cartoons, man?
Well, so mom was always more of the, I kind of want to say health conscious one, but it's not really it. She was more of the penny pincher. Mm-hmm. So we would have like off-brand Cheerios or off-brand Kicks or stuff like that. Nothing real super sugary or any, that we got on weekends when we were at my dad's. But so that's kind of what we had. It was either Cheerios or something along those lines. But favorite, every once in a while I could get her to get honeycomb or Golden Grams, where it wasn't quite like Captain Crunch, but still Still a little bit on the sugary side.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. No, I was just laughing. That was
What was like a hobby you enjoyed doing when you were younger?
I've always loved fishing, whether it was probably Dad that introduced us to fishing first. Because he would have a buddy who had a pond. Mr. Jackson is all I remember, right? He would have a buddy who would have a pond, and he would take us over there to go, and we would just kill it on the bluegills. He would take us walleye fishing every once in a while too, or we would just go to one of the local lakes and go fishing. But I guess it really took off because I would have to say it was probably later grade school. I forget exactly when, but Mom would take us up to Cedarville in the UP. We would rent a cabin in what's called the Lake Chanel Islands. So you're on Lake Huron, but you kind of have this feel like you're on an inland lake because you're just in this chain of islands. And it was kind of like our family get together, family reunion, because Mom would be there, then my aunt and uncle and my cousins would be there, and we would go to the same cabin the same week, year after year, and you got to know those people, so it just got to be like a reunion each and every year. But that's really where fishing for me took off, because Uncle Mike taught me how to pike fish. We would all week long, we would fish for perch in the day, and in the afternoon, then we'd go out pike fishing at night. And that was like my little piece of heaven, was going out to Lake Chanel Islands and pike fishing every year. Yeah. And my mom passed away several years ago, and I would continue to go up, even though others around me wouldn't like to go. I would continue to go up because that was kind of like my connection to Mom, was going up there, because that was just a family spot. Every year, that's a family spot we would go fishing. It was always fun.
Do you have a bait preference?
Well, for the pike, just live jobs. Every once in a while, I'd use a frozen smelt, but when you get a frozen smelt on there, sometimes you get a dogfish. Even though they're fun to catch, they're going to tear up your boat if you get one of those in there. But live chubs, or the classic red and white daredevil, or a silver daredevil, or a rapala, looks like a perch. Those were ones that I would, but always have the best luck on the live bait. Yeah.
Two things. One, the reason I love this podcast, I see you lit up thinking about that. That makes me happy. That makes me so happy.
That's the best thing about doing live interviews. You can do it over the phone or online, but you get to feed off of each other when you're live. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and one thing that you learn about me as well over the next hour is I smile, not because it's not fake. I am interested and just as intrigued as probably more so than anybody that'll ever listen.
Yeah.
Like, I am invested. And then I have a problem. Okay, who is the most influential person in your childhood?
Wow. I mean, as far as my childhood goes, I don't know if I can pin it on. I mean, outside of the dynamics of my family, my Uncle Mike meant a lot to me. On my mom's side, my Uncle George meant a lot to me. On my dad's side, but I mean, as far as that mentor that really stands out the most for me, it wasn't until I got to high school. I graduated from Clinton. It wasn't until I got to high school as a freshman, and it was Dwayne Peltz, who was one of my teachers at the time. He was also the track coach, and he really left an impression on me. And some of the lessons that I learned through him and through track. And also Mr. Smith, who was the music teacher. He taught choir, but he also was the director of the plays in high school. And we had quite a few conversations after our play practice was done, to where it was just him and I talking. And so those probably I would pin as the two most influential mentors. And that was from my high school years. Yeah.
So you're a theater kid or a drama kid? So you did plays, or did you do plays and musicals?
Well, in high school, I did plays and musicals, and I didn't start doing that until I was a sophomore. So in Clinton, I was always kind of like the outsider. I never really felt like I fit in. I did a lot. I did a lot in high school. I did 3 sports all throughout. I did 2 plays a year all throughout. I was also what was called at the time pure listening, where we kind of went through training and just had get-togethers with other kids about learning how to listen to other kids and help them out with their problems, something that they wouldn't go to an adult with, they would go to a kid with, right? So I was quite involved. And theater kind of came in later, my sophomore year, even though all this other stuff was around. I'm just like, man, I don't know if I can fit anything else into my schedule. I already do 3 sports, I do this, but my friend Chad Mackey, who was a couple years older than me, he said, hey, you should try out for this. You should audition. It was Brigadoon. I'm like, man, I can't sing, I can't dance, I don't know. But he goes, so-and-so is going to be, she's trying out. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Her name was Carissa, right? And so I was like, yeah, she's doing it, I'll do it. So I got into it, and then, so Brigadoon, that was a rough one for me. I didn't have any singing parts, but I had to do what was called the sword dance. You're a sophomore, skinny kid. I had 0.0 coordination, still have 0.0 coordination, right? And so they're putting me out there in a kilt. Other high school kids are calling it a skirt, I've got knee-high socks on. I'm trying to speak in this accent, doing a dance. It was bad. It was bad. But at least something stuck. I don't know if it was Mr. Smith bringing me back or what, but I really enjoyed the doing the plays at high school throughout. So much so, that's originally what I wanted to go to college for, was to be in theater. But yeah, I to answer your question, I did the musicals, and I kind of learned how to sing, but it was more about the drama side of things and the acting and the comedy that came along with it. That's what I enjoyed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so now that we made it into high school, there will be a couple questions, but there is one that I ask. Sometimes it can strike a nerve, so I apologize ahead of time. But what is your least favorite or worst memory from high school and young?
Like I said, I was never one to really fit in Clinton, and that's where I spent most of my time. I always felt like the outsider.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really have anybody within my class that I hung out with. I had a few friends who were older than me, and they graduated. Senior year sucked. Senior year sucked because all my friends were older, and I had a few friends that were freshman or sophomore, but our schedules never really overlapped.
Yeah.
They were also peer listeners and peer training, but I just could never find that niche within my own grade, my own class to hang out with. I just didn't identify. I played football from 7th grade through my sophomore year, but because I got picked on so much, and by a few of the kids, not everybody, by a few of the kids, I was like, screw it, I'm done with it. I don't want to do this anymore. So Mr. Peltz, he coached cross country along with track. So I did track or cross country my last 2 years. So my worst memory from high school is probably my senior year, just because I just didn't fit in. And I was, lunchtime, I was just sitting on the bench by myself, waiting for that half hour to end just so I could get to my next class. I hated school. I hated high school. Yeah. There's just few things like, the plays that stand out that I really enjoyed, and some of the things with peer listening and peer camp that I really enjoyed. Interaction with some of the teachers that I really enjoyed. But overall, I could not wait for high school to get over. Lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, all that stuff that a lot of kids deal with. I had that in high school. I didn't bloom until afterwards.
That's crazy to me to think, because I was kind of the same way. I didn't, in high school, but it's kind of funny to me because now you're a radio personality and you're a people person, so that's funny to me. Right. The way it works out. Always on the reverse coin, and I never want to assume. What was your favorite memory from high school down, childhood or whatever? I don't want to assume it was the fishing story, but
Well, I enjoyed my times that week in the summer up north. That was always a lot of fun.
Awesome.
High school specific place. Those were fun. One that there's a couple that really stand out. And the first one that comes to mind is it's track. Track. There's a couple from track. I was decent at a few things. I loved basketball, but I wasn't great at it. I loved football, but I wasn't great at it. Liked cross country, wasn't great at it. Track, I was okay. I mean, I wasn't the best out there. I wasn't the fastest out there. And I remember looking around in 8th grade to, what everybody was doing, where the good athletes were. And I'm like, there's nobody over at the hurdles. I was running quarter mile in 7th grade. And I'm like, there's nobody over at the hurdles. So I just walked over and started doing it because there was nobody there.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it was for the rest of high school. There wasn't anybody doing it in, the upperclassmen were, but there wasn't anybody in my grade or right older than me as a sophomore doing it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to stick with it. So my memory was my sophomore year, Whitmore Lake had a track tournament. It was always the first tournament of the year. And it was the first time I ever won a race. And I was a bench warmer in basketball, loved playing. I just never got to play. But that was like the first time in track where I was like, I did it. I won something. I contributed to the team. I added points to the team. Now, I'm not naive to the fact that it was right around spring break. And there was a lot of other kids who weren't there, right? But still, that was my first. And that was one that really stood out for the most. And my last race, doing the 110 hurdles, my last race was also one that stood out the most. I lost.
Okay.
I lost. I didn't qualify. It was regionals. I didn't qualify to advance from regionals, but I ran my best time
Awesome.
I ever ran. And Coach Peltz came up to me afterwards and he said, that's how I've always wanted to see you attack those hurdles. Because I ran it like it was the last race I was ever going to run. And boy, I wish I knew that feeling all the other ones, because I feel like I could have done better if I'd known how it felt to run that race, early on.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it kind of reminds me the saying, raise your hand. So people raise their hand. They said, now raise your hand higher. People raise their hand higher.
Right.
And then they say, well, why didn't you raise your hand the highest the first time? And
Yeah.
it just kind of reminds me of that. Like I would put in a lot of effort, but
Right.
If I would have put in just that little bit more, I would have got that feeling.
Yeah.
I would have got that feeling. Man. Yeah. Okay.
Did you go to prom?
I did.
Both?
I
One?
did. So I went to prom. I went to prom as a junior, I went to prom as a junior, and I went again as a senior. And then after I graduated, I had a friend from Tecumseh. So Clinton was where I spent most of my time.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm backing up a little bit. But in Tecumseh, I seemed to fit in a little bit more with my friends in Tecumseh. They were the ones that I had through youth group, so they're the ones I only got to see on Wednesdays and every other weekend when I was with my mom. And those are the ones I don't know why, I just identified with them more. I just had, So anyway, I had a friend from Tecumseh that we ended up going to prom with after I had graduated from high school. So I did 3. I did a little backwards, but I did 3. Yeah.
Did you go to college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Then before we get there, because I forgot one of my major questions.
Sure.
What did mom and dad do for work?
Okay. So mom worked for University of Michigan for several years, for about 25 years. She
Wow.
worked in fund development for U of M. So she was planning events for the major
awesome.
fundraisers, right? Yeah. Not a football fan, but she always had to go to the Rose Bowl and plan the events. But she hated it because she was not a football fan. And my dad is an attorney, defense attorney in Adrian, has been doing it for so long now, still practicing.
Oh, wow.
By the way, yeah, I always tell people, I grew up with a lawyer, and I'm married to a lawyer, so I have never once ever won an argument in my life, not once ever.
That's funny,
Yeah.
man. Did you going through high school?
Mhm.
Did you know you were going to go to college? Like was that the set course high school then college?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like the thought, but even though I was involved in so many things, I was a horrible student. I mean, and that's one of the things that I think Mr. Pels really pushed. I usually did better in his classes because he kind of pushed a little bit,
Yeah.
but I was a horrible student. Barely got into Eastern Michigan. And if you're barely getting into Eastern Michigan, then you're not a great student.
Sure.
So I got accepted into Eastern Michigan on academic probation.
Okay.
Yeah. But I got in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to go it was originally going to be as a theater minor, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do as our theater major. And I really didn't want to know what I wanted to do as a minor yet. But it really didn't take me long to say, this theater major thing's not going to go far, especially from Eastern. So I had to start looking at something else.
Eastern is Zipsy, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. Katie, this is more your line of questioning. I personally never went to college.
Mhm.
As much as in hindsight, always it's 2020. I wish I would have, et cetera, et cetera. But Katie, you're the educated one.
So you went in majoring in what you wanted to major
That
in.
was a thought. Yeah.
Right. So then did you minor, major? What did you choose?
So I ended up minoring in theater arts. It was the minor. And it got to be my sophomore year. My dad didn't care what I majored in. He was just get the degree. And that was kind of that mindset back then. There wasn't as much of a focus on the trades as there should have been, as there is now.
Yeah.
So that was the mindset then. You get in, just get your degree, and then you move on with life. You couldn't get a good job if you didn't have a degree. So dad didn't really care what I got. So I remember it was my sophomore year of college, very early of my sophomore year of college, and I'm looking through the book because that's what they had back then, books. There wasn't anything online. So I'm looking through the book, and I'm still in the communications area, and I'm just looking at the majors in there about what fit me. And it was telecommunications, radio, TV, and film. And I was looking at the courses that I had to take. I'm like, oh, yeah, I could hammer all that out. That doesn't seem like that'd be that hard for me to do. So that's what I did. It was that first radio production class. I'm like, dude, I really like this. This is going to be cool. And I don't know, did I answer your question? That's kind of where it went from there. Is it just kind of out of need? I picked it. So.
Dude, seriously, this morning though, when you started talking,
Yeah.
me and Katie, you have a voice for radio.
I hear that,
Anybody
yeah.
have a voice, like holy shit, dude! Like wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what was your, do you have a typical college experience? Do you live on campus? Did you commute?
I started off commuting, living in Clinton down 12. It wasn't too bad of a drive, but college is kind of when I came out of my shell a little bit, experiences, the friendships. I feel like I had a good college experience. I was along with 20 other guys. We were the founding fathers of a fraternity up there. It was a lot of fun. Now I went through my entire college, all 4.5 years. So I came in on academic probation. I had more credits I had to accomplish before I got out. Right. I went through all 4.5 years without drinking at all. I was the sober one. Yeah.
Okay.
I was the sober. Well, my brother's best friend died through a gun accident when everybody was partying in Clinton, and that impacted me as a youth. And I just it was like a trigger. It just scared me, so I never did it. So I was a sober one in a fraternity at all the parties, but I had a good time. I had a really good college experience. And coming out of my shell a little bit.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, coming out of my shell a little bit. I don't know. I guess I just kind of lost my train of thought. I lost it. I had it, but it went.
I know I do that all the time, and then that thing clicks, and God, it stops me. I'm like, what am I just doing? So traveling from Clinton to Ipsy is only about a 30-minute ride, right?
Yeah.
So, but how often? I've never been. So how often do you go to classes? Was it every day?
So when you're starting off, it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
I was carrying 12 credits, as much as I could carry Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But I ended up getting, the friends coming out of my shell, having a lot of fun. I was technically a commuter, but I was couch surfing. by the second half of my freshman year, I was couch surfing up there. I was leaving for class Monday morning. My parents weren't seeing me until Friday when I came back because I had a 1-day-a-week job. I was doing dishes at the racetrack in Clinton, and then getting my $20 for doing dishes, and then heading back up to Ipsy to have fun on the weekend. So my parents never saw me. Oh, this is what it was. But coming out of my shell, also, I turned into a better student in college. I don't know if it was just the environment, the way of learning, or whatever, but it just spoke to me more. And I was carrying a decent GPA, and I was just soaring. I felt like I was soaring in college. Yeah.
I've heard that. Not just from you. That high school is like the state pays them to teach, so they teach with that mindset. In college, they're paid a lot better to teach.
Yeah.
So you get you get what you pay for, pretty much.
I just don't know if it's the atmosphere or I don't know. I don't know. But it was
you were very interested in what you were learning.
Yeah.
I have to learn this.
Right. Well, I mean, there was that. There was the learning part of it too, but it was also just the atmosphere. The finding friends that really meant something to you at the time, not feeling so isolated, being accepted by a group for kind of who you are. It was.
One question.
The social part of it was the best. Was fun.
Before you continue, what was is your fraternity still?
No, it debunked. It debunked.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Right. But no, it was Sigma Tau Gamma. It was the fraternity, and it was funny because I was up at the beer fest. I drink now, by the way. I was up at the beer fest in Lansing at Lugnut Stadium.
Yep.
Such a weird mascot, Lugnut.
It's terrifying.
It's not a nut; it's a bolt. I don't know why they call him Lugnut, but it's a bolt.
It's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
They have a dinosaur person when we went up there.
Oh, it's the mascot. Oh, okay. Because I haven't seen that.
The logo is
It's a bolt, not a nut.
It's a dinosaur.
Yeah, it was like a purple anteater thing.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like,
Anyway, I was up there and with my buddies, and I saw another person there who was wearing the Sig Tall letters. And I haven't seen those in decades. And the memories just started coming back from college. I'm like, dude, you don't know me at all. Well, can I shake? And everybody's got their secret handshake. So I shook his hand, and his eyes just lit up. And it was like, boom, we just kind of picked up right there. Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
So,
all right. Did I answer? I just went off on a
no,
tangent.
you're
Sorry. I saw a squirrel and I went for it.
ADHD here. Did you take any classes just because you do the credits, and did you have one that was super fun?
Took a photography class just for the credits. That was fun. And, and I feel like it was a unique experience because there's no film anymore. So we got to develop the pictures. I did the whole dark room, try to take the artistic pictures and all that stuff. That was fun. You had to take certain credits just to have credits. So I took that one. Yeah.
What was your most difficult class, if there was one?
It was probably the science classes that I had to take. Yeah. I did kind of struggle through some of those that you had to take. There was one. There was a computer programming class that was it was a next level. I thought that I did really well at the first level of it. The next level, I just could not get. There was a couple of math classes in there. I was okay in math in high school. I went all the way up to trigonometry, but there was a next level class at college that I just totally bombed. Yeah, right. Yeah. And to kind of go back, that photography class, there was another one, and I took 2 different levels of it. Dad talked me into taking a couple classes in what Eastern was calling then African American Studies. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Clinton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we didn't. I mean, it's a pretty white community, and so that was very eye-opening for me in that class, and I learned a lot, and I was glad Dad taught me or encouraged me to take that. And we had to do some sort of presentation at the end of the class, and I just kind of sat there quiet in the back throughout the whole semester of that class. But then I had to give the presentation. Everybody was like, "We didn't know what you sounded like." But no, I did. I learned a lot, and I'm glad that I took that. So that's another one that stood out for me.
This is one of my favorite
Mhm.
things that I can relate to. I grew up in Fowlerville, also a very white
Yeah.
community. The first ever black guy that moved there was McKean Culpepper. It was Dante Culpepper's cousin.
Okay.
And but his grandpa was a pastor. That's who he lived with, and he became a friend, and I learned a lot of their culture. I learned a lot, by him being my friend, and it was just very strange because nobody else in Fowlerville was was black. I mean, simply. So yeah, no, that's super cool. That's super cool. Out of college, well, first off, you got to walk the stage. How was that, right?
Got to walk the stage.
Yeah.
I got
When you graduated,
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Somebody we just interviewed didn't get
COVID.
to. Well, yeah.
Oh, because of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you graduate college?
4.5 years after I graduated high school.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I graduated high school in 91. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Dang, man.
Yeah. But I kind of hit the ground running because when I figured out what I wanted to do in college, I was working in radio already by the time I was a sophomore. By the time I figured it out, by the time I started taking those classes, I already had a job, part-time job in radio at Adrian.
Okay. Well, then.
Yeah.
The two questions real quick. One, the reason I asked that is because you said make $20 washing dishes, and that showed me that it was a long time ago.
Right.
So I was just curious about that. Where was your first job? Well, clearly Adrian, but what was the name of the?
So I worked at, so let's see. So starting my sophomore year, I wasn't getting paid.
Okay.
I was going to Adrian. This is like the second. So freshman year, kind of like the party year. First part of my sophomore year, kind of like the party year. But then once I figured out what I wanted to do, I was going into the radio station a couple, 3 days a week just to kind of learn. I was just hanging out.
Interning.
In a way, but it was a little more informal than that. The program director, his name is Doug Spade, got me my first job, and he was going to my church at the time. I was going to the Presbyterian Church in Tecumseh, and he was also a member there. And I was like, "Mom, do you mind? Do you think he was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So I talked to him, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this as a career. I started taking some courses. Do you mind if I just kind of come and hang out? Do you mind if I learn?" He was like, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Come in such and such a day." So I came in one time, hung out for an hour, and left. And I talked to Doug, and I was like, "Hey, when do I start?" He goes, No. This is not how this is going to work. You got to, show me that you're serious about it. You can't just come and go. You got to, So I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize. Young and dumb, didn't realize." So I showed up. The next time he said I could show up, and I hung out, picked the guy's brain the whole time, watched what he was doing, come back again a couple days later, did it again. I just kind of had that pattern. I was going in a couple, 3 days a week, and eventually got to the point where I was running the board, and he was on the other side, just on the microphone talking. And eventually got to the point where he was just showing up with a book, and I was doing a show. I wasn't getting paid for it. We did this dance for like a year. Eventually, I got to a point where I was doing what was called the God Squad. I was opening up the station on Sunday morning. I was playing all of the religious programs from some of the different things that they had. And then I had like an hour of music that I got to play in program. Then I did that up until I graduated.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there was ever, I don't know if we asked or if there was a point, and pardon me if you said it and I forgot. When did you decide you wanted to go into radio? Like, when was that moment?
Yeah, it was kind of like my sophomore year.
Okay.
That's when I was starting to take those classes, and that's
Gotcha.
when I started talking with Doug Spade, and that's when I started really kind of making my way towards radio as my sophomore year. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Maybe you turned on the radio station, you heard somebody, and you were like, "This is what I want to do." I wasn't sure if there was like an aha moment.
No, I wouldn't say there was one specific aha moment. I know a lot of people when they have those kind of stories that just click for them. For me, it was more of a progression. It was the more I learned about it, the more I realized this is what I was meant to do. That I was made to do that. And just to kind of jump ahead a little bit, it's not like I've always felt like it had to be just in music radio or it had to be just in talk radio. I've always, no matter what department I was working in, what genre I was working in, I've always approached it as I'm a broadcaster.
Okay.
You put me in front of a microphone and I will do that job, no matter what the format is, no matter what. If I'm doing sports, if I'm announcing a game or emceeing an event, because it grew from behind the microphone in a studio to being out in public too. It doesn't matter. You put me in front of a microphone, I'm going to do that job.
Awesome, man. So confidence grew throughout the year.
It did.
Too. Yeah.
It did. Yeah. Yeah. With that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, that just gives me a light at the end of the tunnel.
Uh-huh.
Because I still get fidgety and nervous. I'm not even in front of no one. I still get.
Yeah.
Okay. So right after college, were you still working in Adrian?
So I was working in Adrian, but I needed something full time.
Mm-hmm.
So my junior and senior year, I started working with, or not working, I joined another fraternity, but it was a professional fraternity called AE Row. And it was there that I learned how to network. And, I started to meet people in the profession and learn different things. All right, I got sidetracked. What was the question again?
After college, where were you working?
Okay, so I got into AE Row, and then from there, meeting some of the professors, I became what was called a teacher's assistant.
Yep.
So I was helping some of the professors run their courses. I got a twist here. It's coming. One of the students that I was a TA for introduced me to my first semi-regular job after college. I was still working the Saturday shift or the Sunday shift in Adrian, but I needed something more. I needed to make some money. Yeah. So she was a dancer at Deja Vu.
Okay.
And she said, "We just lost a DJ. We need somebody. You feel like you'd be a good fit. Why don't you come in and apply?" So I did. So I was, and I would never put this on a resume for several years because I was so embarrassed about it. I really was, but I needed to make some money, and it was within my skill set. So I was a DJ at Deja Vu for about 6 months before I finally got.
So you announced the ladies, you played the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Not proud of it. No, not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
It would be more classy than some.
So yeah, it can be.
Yeah, no,
but there's stories that probably wouldn't be appropriate for here. It was not. It was a job.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a job. Yeah.
I understand. That would be poking fun. No, I
Yeah.
get it. No, I get it. That's like
Yeah.
There's some things I mean clearly totally different, but I've worked in places. There's some jobs I just don't even have on the resume. It's we don't got.
Kind of side note though. Was there a stage name that was particularly funny to you that you have heard?
I've always had a hard time saying cinnamon. Because I always want to put an extra syllable
like
in it.
synonym.
Yeah. Right. But it was that job that got me a little bit of club experience. Okay. And it was that job that kind of led me into my full-time radio job.
Okay.
So I was working at WLEN, and even when I was still in school, there were, some full-time jobs that came and went. I was young and dumb. I felt like I'd be able to do those and go to school at the same time. Management there didn't feel like it, so I felt like I was getting passed over for a few jobs. I was getting kind of upset. So a job opened up at the competition that I applied for just down the road, Q95 Country, right? Just down the road. And this was just a booming country station in a time when country was just starting to explode. With Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood, all of those just exploding everywhere. Yeah. And it was just a huge format. So I had interviewed for it. And they had asked me at that interview, "So you have club experience?" All right. I was friends with one of the other guys who was working there. We just kind of knew him, and he put a bug into my boss's ear there saying, "Yeah, he's working at Deja Vu right now, so he's got some club experience." So they asked me in that interview, "Do you have club experience?" I'm like, "Nope. Nope. No club experience." Really? I thought I heard, "Nope. No club experience." I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
So he had called me back later. He goes, "We really liked you, but I know you have club experience. I just want you to explain that to me because you just flat out lied to me in an interview, but I know you did." And this is on the phone. I'm like, I'm embarrassed about it. And, it's a job. It's a paycheck, not a big one, but it's a paycheck. So we kind of talked it out over the phone, and eventually I got that job.
Awesome.
So eventually I got that job, afternoons on Q95 Country. the worst thing was having to go in to tell Doug Spade that I was leaving. And I go in, I thank him for all of the opportunities that he gave me and teaching me and giving me a blah, 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 all that stuff. And he was like, well, I'm happy you got a job. You're not going down the road, are you? I'm like, yeah. Oh, he was pissed. He was so pissed. And I get it now. I didn't then, but I get it now because he was my mentor. He got me the start. He was grooming me to eventually be in that role, So he read me the riot act up and down, which I get now. But still, I left, went to a bigger station, went to a better station at the time, and was part of something really good there for quite a while.
Awesome. Yeah. Phil was my mentor. He's my mentor for quite some time.
Yeah.
And one thing about him is if I progressed in a good way, it was never a problem. Like if I was to leave him for something better. So, but that's great that you moved up. Man. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How did you meet your wife? Was it around this time, later?
Okay. So I'm remarried. So my current wife, I met online when I was single. Through Plenty of Fish, that website, and
cool.
and there's a lot of life lessons there that led me to that point in my life. Some of which I'm not going to go into here, but I did it right the second time.
Awesome.
100% totally did it right the second time around. Yeah.
Awesome. That's all we needed to know.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Dude. That's perfect. And sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay. So you're working at the country station. What is the best slot to have on radio, or know, like your opinion, I guess. But
slot that's right for you.
Yeah,
no, that's the answer. The slot that's right for you.
Okay.
It kind of depends on your personality and who you are.
Okay.
Some people are morning people, some people are afternoon people.
Okay.
I feel like I have more of a flexible, more of a dynamic personality. I've always taken the mindset that you put me in anywhere, I'll make it happen. Gotcha. Right. And so I eventually, afternoon, the guy who was doing the morning show left to go do something else. So I slipped into the morning show, did that for about 8 years. So the answer is what's best for you. I think a lot of people have their mindset, their goal on being on the morning show.
Okay.
But it's really wherever you fit best.
Gotcha. That was more of my question because like Bob and Tom, they're in the mornings. I just assumed the morning was what everybody like wanted to get to. So, okay. But I feel like afternoon is more people listening. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Are the middle of the night radio like how Scary Terror is Saturday Night Man, it's later at night. Are they like a different, are there like archetypes of people who do different slots?
Yeah. Again, kind of depending on what your personality is. I when I was at LEN, I did some of that late night radio too. It was like a fill-in kind of thing. Those phone calls that come in, from 10 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the morning. I have those weird phone calls.
I would love it.
Yeah. I mean, that people who stay up all night, that's a different kind of breed, man. It is.
No, that's kind of what I was leaning towards. It's like you're proper and like you're intelligent, and I'm like a lot morning person, right? It's what I group as Scary Terry. I'm like, night guy, people. Well, yeah, but he wears a leather jacket every day.
That's so cool.
You know what I mean? Like it's nighttime. I'm just saying.
Listen, don't be hating on people's vibes.
No, you were just saying like the vibe fit.
Yeah. Well, it's also the genre too. I work on a news talk station now, which is a little bit different. When I was working on the country station, I had our intern going out cleaning windshields for change, as part of a skit. Mic'd them up. You have any spare change, buddy? We're doing we were doing fundraisers. So yeah, I mean, it was just. I would have kids call in while they're getting ready for school, and I have them do stupid little stunts on the phone, and then I could hear their parents yelling at them in the background. It just depends on what format you're on. But yeah, I'm on a news talk station, but I could be stupid and fun if I needed to be.
Fair enough.
So how'd you get into the news talk
Okay.
from the country to like now.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything in the middle? Before we get there, from the country station, is there anything before the news talk?
No, I went from that format over to the other. So
Awesome.
when I started working in Adrian at Q95 Country, there's a few other stations in that building too. There was Mix 102.5 and there was WABJ, which is the news talker down there. But when I started working there, Bruce and Sue Goldson were the managers of that station. After a few years, they left. They came up to Jackson because they bought K105.3, ESPN Radio 1450, and News Talk 970 at the time. So Jamie McKibben, who was working down there on Mix 102.5, he left to go do some news, and then he ended up working up in Jackson with them doing the morning show on K105. My boss, Greg Green, who was the one that we had that phone call with I told you about earlier. So he ended up leaving. That's how I got the morning show. He went to work for Jackson College, but then would go into the radio station, would voice track afternoons on KM. So I knew people up here. Now, the moral of the story, every job, for anybody who's just starting out looking for a gig, every job I've had, I've known somebody at.
Yep.
Every job I've had. It's so important to network and get to know people in the industry that you're interested in, because your paths will cross. They could give you a good review, and you could. Every job I've had, I've known somebody at. So with the management leaving and with management kind of overlapping in Adrian, and the owner who lived down south was trying to micromanage from a distance, it just turned into a shit show. It really did. Things were really getting bad. I was still keeping my numbers good on that station. I was still competing with W4 out of Ann Arbor. But it was just getting so hard to do, and personnel kept leaving and they weren't replacing them. So it was time to leave. There was a spot opened up at WLEN. There was a spot that had opened up at, there's a spot that opened up at LEN. So I called Bruce and Sue to see if I could get them to do a letter for me. If they would call the owner at LEN, put in a good word. Hopefully there's been enough time since I've left that they, the water under the bridge at that point, right? And so I'm on the phone with Bruce. He's like, well, I will, but I'm just going to give you a call, see if you wanted to come up here. So now I had two things to kind of choose from. So LEN didn't take me, so I went to work in Jackson, and that's how I got to be the program director for the News Talk station and for the Sports Talk station at that time. So I was programming the stations, and I had the call-in talk show from 10 to noon.
Okay.
So that was my introduction into talk. But again, I've always felt that I was a broadcaster, so I had to learn a new format. But and I worked hard. I worked hard at it too. Jackson's kind of like one of those areas. If you're from Jackson, they love you. If you're not from Jackson, that's a hard nut to crack. Yeah. People didn't realize that I didn't live in Jackson. That's how hard I worked at it. That's how much time I stayed away from home, because I'm commuting from Adrian at that point. So that was a hard nut to crack, but I made it look, sound, and feel like I was from Jackson. Attended so many chamber events, met so many people, because in a town like this, your listeners are your sponsors. So I just created my professional network like I did in college through those things. I just kind of started that over in Jackson just by introducing myself and meeting people at as many different events as I could.
Yes, sir. So we are on the right path, and that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
So we're on to it. What is programming a network? Or what is programming?
So programmer, if you're a program director of a radio station, that means you're responsible for the overall sound and quality of that station. So, and there's a lot of computer programming with that now too. So making sure all the codes are right there, so you're hitting the right satellite changes and all that stuff, making sure everything times out, making sure all the imaging is right for all the. That's like the sound effects that start a segment, end a segment. You heard a little bit of that this morning.
Yeah.
So so program director, basically you're in charge of the overall sound and quality of the station.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive, man. That's
yeah.
Who is you asked us this morning, so I'm going to return the favor. Who was your favorite interview? Who is your favorite person you've ever interviewed?
Oh, wow. Excuse me. There's been a lot. Yeah. There's been a lot. No, seriously. Because you're talking about, because I was even doing interviews. I was on the country station, different format. But so the first high profile one that stands out the most for me was when I was working at the country station, and we got to deal with MIS, and they wanted us to go out and cover stuff that was happening at the race weekend. And I was not an NASCAR fan at the time, and I kind of pushed back on it, but I lost because I wasn't in charge. So I'm out with my cassette recorder, and the corded microphone, looking for NASCAR interviews. And this is before it really exploded. Mark Martin, driver of the number 6 Valvoline Ford, was sitting on his cooler outside of his transport. And I'm like, do you mind? And he was like, yeah, sure, come on over. So, and then we sat and we talked for like 20 minutes until that cassette stopped. So that was like the first. And I had conversations with country stars and others in and out of the studio, but for some reason that one just seemed to be like the most authentic one for me, and that one was just a lot of fun. That one was just how we talked. Not only we talked NASCAR, but we talked about how he was a pilot. We talked about his home and where he, flew from, and it was all right there on a cooler, in the garage area at MIS. So that was a lot of fun. The interview style that I have now, I think of a lot of the people that come in, especially the ones that come in on a regular basis. They're like my friends, and we're kind of just catching up on what happened during the week. Whether it's the mayor talking about his stuff, whether it's Steve Shotwell talking about the county stuff. Yeah, we're getting the nitty gritty out of what's happening with local government. But I mean, in all my interviews, there's elements of friendships in there. We're playing a little catch up each and every week when they're in. Yeah. And they're all fun.
We were just saying that we've unintentionally got like a group of people now that we call friends, and that wasn't the purpose at the beginning of this. And it's nice that it's happened. It's still not the purpose, but it's nice that it happens. Excuse me. So clearly, I don't even know how to answer this question. So going from cassette and mic and stuff like that,
how has the job changed with technology evolving over the years? And is it easy to keep up with, or was it like a hard transition for you?
No, it wasn't a hard transition for me. It wasn't for me. When I was in school, they were just starting to dip their toe a little bit into digital editing. I still learned how to edit on audio tape. Doug Spade was blind. He was blind, but I marveled at how he could. You mentioned all the tapes. So you're familiar with what 8-track tapes are, right? All the commercials are loaded up on what are called carts, which are a lot like 8-track tapes, okay? You put it in, it runs, it stops, it cues itself back up again, and you pull it out. He would have carts stacked high. He would have records all queued up, and it was almost like a scene out of the Matrix before the Matrix was cool, how his arms were moving and queuing everything up. Old school wise, you mentioned that, and it just kind of triggered a memory for me. So I went from that, the old school carts and radios, went over to Adrian, where everything was lined up on a computer, but we were still playing CDs. So I went from records to CDs. Then I came back up to Jackson, where even more stuff is all digital. So everything is I didn't have to touch a CD or anything unless it was an emergency. And it was the same because I DJ'd weddings for 20 years too. And it was the same thing. Started off with CDs, evolved into laptops, and I mean, it's just no matter what you do, it doesn't matter if it's radio or whatever. You have to constantly be evolving. It's only going to make your job easier. And the people who resist technology, I never want to be that person. I never want to be that person that's going to resist technology. I always want to be able to be open to it, learn from it, and make my job easier because that's what it's going to do.
So clearly we focused a lot on this because that's what almost everybody knows you for. That's what we met you for. How is it in the real estate game? When did you get into real estate and why?
So it was just under 2 years ago that we about 2 years ago where we had started talking about it because we just had some things that we wanted to do. I'll be honest with you. We needed to come up with the money to put a roof on the house. Do we need to come up with money to decide our house? We felt like we had goals for where my wife and I want to be once we retire, and we weren't going to get there, doing what we were doing. We loved it, but we weren't going to get there. So, again, part of my superpower is I know people, and which is important in the real estate business. And she was like, you know, you could do this. All right. So I'm breaking this up a little bit for you because you kind of need the context, I think. So I was doing the news talk thing for about 9 years. I left for a little bit. Decided I needed to change of pace. So I worked for United Way for 5 years. Then I worked for the animal shelter for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I came back to the radio station. And when they brought me back to the radio station, the intent was for me to eventually do the morning show when Greg O'Connor decided to retire.
Okay.
So I kind of filled in a few different roles until he decided to retire. You know, I'm still kind of in that phase when we decided to get our real estate license. So I went to the training, took the practice tests, took the state test, passed it the first try, got in line with a brokerage, and I'm working. Yeah, I'm still in the wings. You know, Greg's going to retire soon. I changed my hours at the station to work from. Well, I was doing the K105.3 morning show for a little bit, and once that ended, I said, "Hey, can I just still keep kind of coming in the morning?" And so I was working from 6 until, I don't know, 2 or whatever at that point. And it was that time we were doing the training for the real estate.
Okay.
Got it. So I was able to continue to have that morning routine and then the afternoon. We did this because we always knew that I was going to have the afternoons free. So we were going to, you know, have the morning job at radio, afternoon job in real estate, and weekends also in real estate. So that's the reason why we took that path, because we knew it fit with my schedule. I knew a lot of people in town, and I'm just the people person of it. So yeah,
Awesome.
people person side of it. Yeah, my wife and I work together as a team on it. She has hers, like I told you this morning. She has her strengths. I have my strengths. We just work on it together as a team.
Would you say you're workaholics?
I definitely am. Yeah. I work too much. No, seriously. And that's not a good thing. We're kind of doing this out of necessity because of one of the things that, you know, we wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, radio is not a 9-to-5 job. And then you throw DJing weddings on top of that for 20 years. I worked way too hard.
How long have you been working in Jackson at the station?
At the station, so it was 9 years first time around, took a 7-year break, and then I've been back for 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
One question. So I actually also work for Jennifer as well. I'm like her trash out guy. I talked to a realtor. This realtor called Jennifer her broker. What is that? Like, no, like I don't understand. So
broker is you know, really kind of the person that holds your real estate license.
Okay.
Yeah. So all realtors have to work with a broker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give you the short answer.
Gotcha. No, thank you. I just didn't understand that. Okay.
So do you still DJ weddings?
No.
Okay. So
no. When my wife and I first got together, she was like, you know, you don't need to do this anymore. I'm like, I've done it for 20 years. I guess you're right. And it was that gig that weekend, because I was, you know, starting to wind down on it. Music had started to leave me, and I could still work a crowd. Give me a microphone, I could still work the crowd, but the music was starting to leave me. And I was DJing at the Super 8 in Brooklyn that weekend. And somebody came up to me and says, "You're not going to remember me, but you did our wedding 18 years ago. Come here, I want you to meet my kid." Yeah, as teenager kid walks, I'm like, man, I've been doing this way too long. I've been doing this way. There's a reason why people my age don't, you know, there's not a whole lot of us my age DJing weddings anymore. It's a younger person's thing.
So with how much you work and do the realtor and the show, how do you manage and avoid burnout?
That's a good question. And what helps, I don't. And I have to deal with that, and I have to figure it out. But knowing that in the second half of the day, it's my wife and I working together on it, that helps. That helps a lot. But I've learned, and it took me a long time in my life to figure out this lesson that I gotta figure out time for me. I gotta have that recharging time, and I got to make time for myself. So that's kind of like where my hobbies come in. You know, I'll go fishing, I'll hit the gym at Kettlebell Hotspot. You know, I'll do those kind of things. I just got to find the time to recharge for me. Or I mean, yeah, my favorite thing on the planet to do is just sit down on my recliner with my dog on my lap, me and my wife sitting together watching TV. I just love spending time with her. So having that part of the day where we're kind of working together on things, that helps a lot too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. We're gonna get to our wrap-up questions if that's okay with you. And then so my sorry, I keep looking over because I have a bad habit of doing this. So my first question that I ask every guest is, what is your definition of success?
It's going to vary from person to person. I mean, it really is. It's your success. As I give you the body posture that closes up a little bit. It's not bank account. It's just finding your happiness, whatever that is. I mean, yeah, my dad wanted me to be a lawyer, and I knew that wasn't for me. I had to find a career that I was happy at, and that was doing this. So it's the secret to your success is going to be your happiness, and wherever you find that, whether it's work or whatever. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Everybody's is different. That's why I ask every single person. Yeah. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have?
No, not that I can think of. No.
Are you happy with the way you told your story?
I hope so. We'll see. We'll check the comments later, right? Yeah. Yeah.
If younger you met you now, would he get along with you now, and vice versa?
I don't know. I think so. If I could meet younger me, I would probably tell him to be home more, because I was working a lot. In Adrian, I was working a lot. When I first started working in Jackson, I was working a lot, DJing weddings on weekends. I would tell him to be home, because there's a lot I was telling him.
Okay. If you had one word to sum up your entire story from where you started, where you are now, and where you think you will end up, has to be one word, has to be a real word.
Boy, I feel like Dan Campbell when he was on the when he was on the HBO series. You know, he had to sit there and he had to think for a while when he was asked that question. Has to be a real word, and I can't hyphen it. Except I'm gonna say worth it. I mean, I'm gonna put all right. Then it has to be a real word. Worth. I mean, yeah, if anybody on the planet is going to tell you that they don't have regret, they're lying to you, because everybody's going to have regret. Everybody makes mistakes, and I certainly have made my mistakes. And there's a lot of things that I would like a do-over at, but I think some of those mistakes have made me the person I am today, and I feel like I'm in a better spot am now than I would have been. So where I am right now in my life, I can't change what happened. I can only use that to make me a better person. So where I'm at in my life, worth it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. We will give you your gift card. We'll cut the camera, and then will you sign our table?
Sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So
I got it. So we did Knight's Steakhouse this week.
Oh, sweet. Their scallops are awesome there.
I like to read like their mission statement. Mind you, we provide them. They don't like, we tell you when they provide their own gift card. But we like to do a little thing for them. So I read their mission statement, and it is to provide a welcoming family-like atmosphere with high-quality food and drinks at fair prices, aiming to create lasting memories for its guests through generous portions and exceptional personal service.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome.
Appreciate
that.
I appreciate it.
Sweet.
Awesome. Cut the camera.
Okay.
And, hopefully, thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Oh, he made my knuckle crack.
Yeah.